and I would like to invite Daniel to come forward, Daniel Bronfman. He was part of the big team that went to Israel. Rabbi Harris, would you like to say a few words about the trip before Daniel speaks? Because we need a tall rabbi next to him, so I'm going to sit down.
So, well, first and foremost, Mazel Tov on what a wonderful morning that you guys have led us in your teaching, your Torah reading, the Haftarah that you did. So Mazel Tov to each of you. And when you are in 10th grade, you will have an incredible opportunity. And that's what we want to mention now, that this was the first year where the Sorkin Youth Israel Trip took place, that it is named for our past president of the synagogue, Jerry Sorkin, and a dear friend of mine. It was an incredible experience that Daniel will talk about. I know that there are a number of the students, participants who are here this morning, but his vision, Jerry's vision, was that as a capstone experience, we would go to Israel together to experience the land, experience the complexity, the richness, the diversity of what Israel means. And what I have learned is that at 16 years old, it is exactly the right time to go, because they know so much, are able to do so much. And we had been to Israel together before this trip. So I'm appreciative of Jerry's vision, Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be a blessing, and being together really was a blessing for me and excitement to bring this into the experience of Bethel. So I want Daniel to share some words about this trip.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Usually one would end their remarks by saying Toda Rabbah. Today, I want to start by saying it. Toda Rabbah. Thank you so much. Our incredible experience of visiting Israel was the brainchild of the wonderful leaders of our synagogue, and I couldn't be more grateful for the trip. The trip was also the dream of our dear past president, Jerry Sorkin, of blessed memory. It was always his goal to create a trip that would be a culminating experience for the confirmation class of the religious school. Thanks to the planning efforts of the large committee that came together to develop the initiative, our trip in Jerry's honor and memory was an amazing success. Through strengthened relationships with friends and Israel, as well as a unique and relevant itinerary, I came home a completely new person. When we first arrived in Tel Aviv, our tour guide Erez introduced our theme and mantra for the trip, CRL, commitment, resilience, and leadership. Each day we focused on a different value, learning about how it connected to Israel. To teach the group about commitment, Erez introduced us to Margalit Zanati. Her family had been living in a small village called Pekin since the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem about 2,000 years ago. Her family was one of the few to stay in Israel throughout various exiles, and she's the last Jew in Pekin. Margalit, now 87 years old, shares her family's story with anyone who will stop to listen. To learn about resilience, Erez took us to Kaima Farm, an eco-friendly farm that hires Israeli youth who have dropped out of school or who struggle with being in a typical classroom all day. These teens are given the opportunity to contribute to their communities in a more efficient way through manual labor, and they learn skills that help them restore their place in their own communities. Kaima Farm gives young people a second chance. We were fortunate enough to aid in this process with the help of the congregation. A few weeks before our trip, as Hanukkah began, a few of us partook in a Sufganiyot sale in the lobby of Bethel. The funds raised were used to help purchase a new first aid kit and fire extinguisher for Kaima Farm. On their behalf, we would like to thank everyone who contributed to our sale. A little really goes a long way. To demonstrate leadership, we traveled to David Ben-Gurion's house in the Negev. At the young age of 15, Ben-Gurion made great strides to help eliminate anti-Semitism and work towards a Jewish state. His leadership at age 15 and later in life inspired us all to lead in our own communities. While the first part of the trip was widely secular, the latter portion really showed off the incredible community that is the Jewish people. When we were told that we would be going to the Kotel on Friday night for Kabbalat Shabbat, we really didn't know what to expect. Personally, I was expecting a bunch of men with beards and black hats davening at the wall. When we saw Orthodox Jews, secular Jews, and IDF soldiers jumping and singing in a mosh pit under the wall, all of our preconceived notions flew out the window. We joined in, singing the songs we knew and just laughing during the songs we didn't. We made friends with college kids from Toronto, tourists from Chile, and local Israelis. There was an immensely deep sense of community amongst all these people that we had never met before, and it was an indescribable feeling. Nobody wanted to leave. In fact, we negotiated an extra 30 minutes from our chaperones. One of my favorite parts of the trip was visiting a local kibbutz. Similarly to the wall, no one really had any idea what to expect when we first got there. We started off with a tour guided by kids just 1 or 2 years older than us, and on this tour, we connected over sports, hobbies, and Netflix. The original awkward vibe we had from groups of teenagers being forced together quickly faded into fun, laughter, and surprising bonds. We learned about each other's goals and how each group's assumed notions about the others proved to be very wrong. We had an absolute blast. I can't cover everything we did or experienced on this trip, because if I did, we would be here until next Shabbat. But I hope that my brief stories are able to give you a glimpse into the fun we had. I truly can't stress enough how extraordinary this trip was. I made so many friends, learned so much about myself and Israel, and overall had so much fun. To any ninth graders listening right now who are on the fence about going on this trip, let me tell you, whatever your interests are, there are things on this trip that will inspire you. No matter what your relationship is with Bethel or Israel, I recommend with all my heart that you go on this trip. Our group is incredibly grateful to Rabbi Harris, Alicia, Matthew, Sarah, Tali, and our guide Erez. Another thank you to the donors within the congregation for assisting and sponsoring this experience for the 18 of us who attended in the 2018 group and for future groups. No other trip has an itinerary so off the beaten path and unique, and this truly was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So Toda Rabah and Shabbat Shalom.
So I also want to thank, well, first, Daniel. Wow. Yes. To see you guys in the mosh pit at the Kotel on Friday night was amazing, and just going from group to group to group, and the joy, that's what we had talked about after that. The joy that you guys felt was incredible. It cannot be replicated anywhere else. It has to be, like so much of Jewish life, it has to be lived and experienced, and that's what we did for 12 days together in Israel. I also want to recognize Sarah Gordon, who put just countless hours into designing this program, so that whereas the staff, myself, Matthew Jacobson, raise your hand, Matthew, and our education director, Alicia Frumkin, were the people on the ground, that behind the scenes, Sarah Gordon and Dave Mills really led this effort. So if there are ninth graders here, then sign up, let's go together. Again, that Tali and the Chazan will be leading the trip next year. If there are eighth graders, then it's coming right down the road. So it's a fabulous experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And I might add that this Parsha is your anniversary for your bar mitzvah today. How many years ago? 3 years? Oh my God, they grow so fast. Mazel tov, and thank you very much.